let's say, in alignment with your inner being. So like if you're in alignment with your inner being, you wouldn't talk bad about yourself, or you wouldn't put yourself down over and over again every day. You wouldn't tell yourself like you're not good enough, because your inner being knows the exact opposite. Your inner being knows that you're completely worthy of everything, and it's pure love. So
Good morning, Amy. How are you?
good morning. I'm doing okay. How about you?
I'm doing amazing. Great to see you this morning, pretty early in the morning. So I appreciate that you agreed to wake up and give people the amazing value you have.
Aw,
Thank you. Thank you very much.
thanks.
You could go back to sleep after.
Yeah, right. I know. I was thinking about it.
I really appreciate that. By the way, from our last conversation, I got some great feedback. People told me it helped them. So
Oh,
I really,
amazing.
yeah, I really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Well,
Whoever did, yeah. It's beautiful. How are you today?
I'm doing okay. Yeah, just different.
You're cutting,
That's
1 second, you're cutting out.
affecting how my state is right now. Yeah.
Can you just cut out for a second? What did you say?
Oh, I'm just trying to stay connected to how I feel. Yeah.
That's amazing. And you know why that's amazing? Because that's, I guess, most of the topic that we're going to talk about today has to do basically with the relationship with ourselves and how it reflects the people around us. A lot of times, Amy, when someone talks to you about relationship, what would be the first thing that comes up to his head, to his mind?
Talk to me about a relationship, like just any kind of relationship.
Yeah, when they talk about relationships, do they think about that you're going to talk about the relationship with themselves, with others? Like, what type of relationship comes up to mind?
I feel like most people talk about a relationship with someone else, but the way I see it is when they're describing the relationship with someone else, I'm seeing it as the relationship with themselves. Because I feel like any kind of relationship we have is a reflection of ourselves, so it's kind of an indication of where we are with ourselves when you're talking about someone else.
That's so beautiful what you just now said, and we're going to break it down because it's only the beginning. But realize what you said and what I also hear a lot of people when they talk to me about relationships. My YouTube channel, so one of the elements is relationships. And the main thing that comes up when someone says relationships, they usually don't think about relationship with themselves.
No,
It's like
definitely not.
it's relationship with my partner, with my father, with my mother, with my sister, with whatever business relationship. Like all of the relationships come up except the most important one, which is the relationship with ourselves. And I
Yes.
think that's crazy.
I never considered myself in relationships, or like I never even would consider myself as a part of like a group. Like, yeah, I never did that. I was always looking outwards most of the time.
Let's share a little secret. It's not only you. It's like 99.9% of the world. For sure, it's me. Like when you used to talk to me about relationship, like the relationship with myself was like all the way there, someplace there. You see the backpack. So it's when I used to go backpacking.
Oh,
But that's like really like always relationships was something that had to do with other people. And today, you work a lot with people and a lot about the relationship with themselves. And I want you to explain why basically first why is it so important to have a good relationship with ourselves, number one, and then if we could from there go into dive a little bit deep and how does the relationship with ourselves reflect to other people, which I think it's basically any relationship. Doesn't matter if we don't have that right relationship with ourselves. It could be in business, could be in family, could be everything. So first, why is it that important to have that strong relationship with ourselves?
yeah, because I mean, if you, this isn't ever something I thought about until now, but um, you're the one feeling everything. So in any relationship, any kind of feeling that that person say like gives you, or the way you feel with that person is always you feeling. So like, and when you realize that person isn't giving you feelings, that you're experiencing yourself through that relationship, it's you stop relying on the other person to give you something, and you start focusing more on yourself and what you can give yourself. And so, and it also like takes off any kind of like attachments to other people or expectations of them to provide you something, when you know that you're the one feeling everything. And so that's why it's so important to have that relationship with yourself, is because through everything, like, how do you feel? Like, do you feel, are you vulnerable? Are you open? Are you closed? Are you, what are you experiencing in your body? And it's always you. That's what you're feeling. So, yeah, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? I don't
No,
know.
no, for sure. It does make sense. I just want to go back for a second. You said the word vulnerable. When you say that, do you mean vulnerable with other people or vulnerable with ourselves?
Both. Because I feel like you can be vulnerable in yourself, but when it comes to other people, that's when you can really see if you can be open or not. Because if you're only vulnerable alone, I mean, it's definitely different. Because when someone else is in the picture, being vulnerable with someone is, it's definitely different.
I, for sure, it's different. I do think that it's first. You could correct me if I'm wrong. From meeting your clients, but I do think that there's that necessity to be vulnerable with ourselves first, because a lot of times we make up a story that is not really right in order to cover up whatever really needs to be whatever needs to be there. And
Yeah.
when we're vulnerable with ourselves and when we see whatever needs to be seen, then I think the next step is also to be vulnerable with other people. And Brené Brown, I don't remember her exact words about vulnerability, but she's like a really big speaker in that topic. Is that vulnerability is courage. It's not the opposite. It's not it's a soft spot maybe, or not always, but that shows the courage that you have in you to share it, of course, with the right people.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to go back to the relationship with ourselves. When you talk to your clients, a lot of times, like when you talk about relationships, so do you talk about things that have to do with them, or you always talk about the relationship that has to do with other people?
Well, they usually start by talking about relationships with other people, and I always bring it back to them. Or,
Why?
or it starts with the relationships that they have with their parents or had with their parents when they were really young. And then because that forms the relationship that they have with themselves. Because the way that they experience, or the way that we experience um, our parents and ourselves like together, that's how we're teaching or learn, that's how we learn the relationship with ourselves. So then by seeing that, you can kind of see the habits that were built and why.
So if I understand you correctly, basically when someone comes to you, they start like everyone else talking about the relationship outside of them, but then you bring them back to the relationship with themselves, right? Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
So how can we see, how does our relationship reflect out there? Because you said that everything has to do with us at the beginning and the end. Whatever happens out there starts with whatever happens in us. So how does that reflect, number one, and how can someone, or like what can we do in order to work in that relationship with ourselves?
Well, how does that reflect? So it's can go a little deeper.
Only.
The way I see it is through law of attraction. So your internal has to bring proof in the physical world. So if you believe and feel something very strongly, then you will find proof in the physical world. So that's what you'll bring out. Does that make sense?
It does, but how does that have to do with the relationship?
So, for instance, so then it comes back to the relationship with yourself. Like, say, for instance, you have a belief that, you're not good enough. And you're always telling yourself, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough. That's a relationship with yourself, right? That's kind of like your mental, it's like a story that you have about yourself, but it's also how you're treating your inner being. Because the person, like the being inside of you who feels everything, is being kind of like put down by like an identity that you have that's saying like you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not good enough. So then experiences come up in your world where you can make it proof. See, look, that thing happened, that means I'm not good enough. And it's just like
Right.
it's proving what you know about yourself. But if you shift that, and that's why it's so important to have a good relationship. I don't know what that means, but like to be to love yourself and to be in love is to be, let's say, in alignment with your inner being. So like if you're in alignment with your inner being, you wouldn't talk bad about yourself, or you wouldn't put yourself down over and over again every day. You wouldn't tell yourself like you're not good enough, because your inner being knows the exact opposite. Your inner being knows that you're completely worthy of everything, and it's pure love. So to be in alignment with your inner being would mean to have a relationship with yourself that is balanced, and you then attract things into your life that would be beneficial, or that would be your deepest desires. If that makes sense. Did I answer the question?
You didn't answer the question. I just want to address something you said over there, and I really appreciate you mentioning that. You finished with the fact that if we're aligned with whatever is inside of us, so more prosperity comes and more opportunities come, and we create those right relationship around us. But I want to go back to, you said something about not being good enough, and that feeling that we have inside. I think that even if we're in different relationships, not if, we're probably in different relationships, when we have, and all of us have it sometime in life, sometimes more, sometimes less, but when we have that feeling inside that we're not good enough, even if the relationship is fine, so it could be a lot better when we have that feeling of when we would be satisfied with who we are.
Mm-hmm.
But if we do not have that relationship, that could be something that is a lot of time holding us back. Because
Exactly.
when we have that relationship of we're not good enough, there's so much we could achieve, but we don't believe in ourselves. When we don't believe in ourselves, so then there's no reason that we'll go into that relationship with a different person, forget about it. But why would I want to go with a relationship with myself if I don't believe in myself? And if I
Exactly.
don't want to go with a relationship, into a relationship with myself, why would someone else want to go in there? So
Exactly. Yeah, and then you're in a relationship in disbelief that that person should even love you because you don't love yourself. And so then, yeah, exactly. Like, how do you let someone love you where you're not loving yourself? And love isn't like, because I feel like a lot of people have this idea about love, like something that is like a mental concept more than what it actually is, and it's feel. Like love is feel. So it isn't judgment about, well, I love myself, or I love this person if they can do this for me, or like, I love this person because they're good to me, or there's like a list of reasons why you love that. But every time you put a reason into it, that's a thought, and that's not really where love exists. So it's kind of it's tricky. And then I feel like people don't love themselves because they can't find a reason why they should love that part of them that they don't like, but because they're trying to find reasons, right? It's like, yeah, but why would I love that? Because it's like this. It's like it's just feel. It's just feeling. And then if you are vulnerable in that feeling, you open it up instead of having it closed off in resistance. So it's like a completely different experience.
So what is love? Like if you're saying it's not, what is, like I kind of understood, but if you could, you're talking about the loving ourselves now and creating that relationship. So what does that mean? What is that love of loving ourselves, or in general, that creating of that relationship?
So if you can, I'm gonna try to like explain this without. Okay, so love, like the way I can explain it is kind of like I feel love as a frequency. It's like a state of being, a feeling. So that we are inside, like we are already made of that. And when we have feelings like, let's say like pain or in our hearts that we don't want to go to, we keep resisting, we keep kind of like pushing it away. If we let ourselves be vulnerable in that feeling and allow it to be there, then it actually starts to pass. It's like something opens up. So it's almost like you're opening yourself to your own source. And then that flows through you. And it's really interesting because I was listening to somebody talk about love relationships, like romantic relationships, and they said loving or romantic relationships are actually like when you fall in love with someone else, you're actually falling in love with yourself because you're allowing yourself to feel all that love. Your mind is just focused on someone else, but your body is actually expanding and opening to that love, but it's you because you're the one feeling the love, right?
Interesting.
Yeah. And then
Wow.
sometimes you get a reason to not feel a certain way and then it like closes off. So just like to be aware of that, like you're the one feeling it, so you can determine what you feel, if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. I think it's really amazing what you said just a moment ago. That the love is something that we were born with. It's in us. It's something that is there. And then with time, we covered it up with different things, different thoughts from other people, from ourselves. And like when we were a baby, I don't think we were like criticizing ourselves day and night.
No.
Probably not, right? Like
No, we like
it's there.
screamed and yelled, and somebody came and held us. But
Exactly.
now it's like there was a part of our lives where, excuse me, that stopped happening, and it's like now we don't go to people when we need to cry or be open. Like we hold it back because we want to be strong, even though that's it's just closing us off.
Yeah, you said someone picked us up. When we were a little kid, someone picked us up and was holding us. I think that before we go out, we first need to go and pick up ourselves. And we need to be the ones. We need to be there for ourselves. And then in addition to that, I had a great human being. Also, we're talking to her lately from Better Daddy podcast. She's great, Rena, and we're talking about the fact that it's nice when we have someone from outside to be a support there for us, and that relationship that is kind of a support relationship, maybe mutual support, which is great. But I believe, based on what you said now, that and different things, that we need to be there first for ourselves, because that love is there. We have it. We need to be there for ourselves.
Yeah.
We're the people. That's number one. That will be there to support ourselves, and then also after we have that relationship with ourselves and we connect to ourselves, when we're not criticize ourselves, only then we could go and create a better relationship also with someone else.
Yeah, for
Is
sure.
that something that makes sense?
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like sometimes being there for yourself means letting yourself be held by somebody. because when you're being vulnerable alone, it's like, okay, I'll hold myself alone, but when someone else comes, oh no. And that you're still doing that to yourself. So everything you do is to yourself, whether you're with someone or not. Like, if you have somebody in your life that you won't let yourself be open to, you're doing that to you. It's like, you can also see it as that. So it's important not to hold yourself back from the people who are around you, because the you that needs that love and needs to be vulnerable with people, you need that. Like, we need connection. And if we're holding ourselves back, we're cutting ourselves off from that.
For sure. I think it's something that it's mutual. Like, it's not that you only connect to yourself now in a cave and do like this for 20 years, and then you go and connect to other people. You do that, it's something mutual that happens at the same time, 100%. But like you mentioned at the beginning, we must be in a good connection to ourselves, in a good relationship to ourselves, in order to create that relationship, whoever that is, that would be a lot more flourishing than what it is right now. There's that saying, I think we mentioned it last time. You could only connect to someone else to the level that you're connected to yourself. So you might be there for someone else 200%, but there's so much more in the relationship that is waiting to be exposed and and flourish, and that would only happen after we do that connection to ourselves. So I really love what you said about how that it's kind of like a ping pong affects back and forth,
Yeah.
and I think it's really beautiful. But I want you now to give people that are listening here or on YouTube later on those tools. Just a few simple tools that they could use. You mentioned already a few during this talk, but a few simple tools that they could use to connect to themselves. Because a lot of us today criticize ourselves. Like, I could talk about myself. I used to do it a lot, day and night, and criticizing ourselves. Not only are we not creating that connection to ourselves, that relationship, we're also not able to create, a bigger, meaning relationship with other people, because we will be there for them, but we're not there. Our pure gold is not there, so we're missing out so much. So what are those few tools that you could share with people? Something simple that people can actually do to create that relationship with themselves that would help reflect also on the rest.
Yeah, I would say listening is such a huge, huge, huge part of it. Listening and receiving. So, for instance, like, if you're having a hard time connecting with yourself and you don't really know where to start or what to do, how about, like, go to somebody you trust and care about and open up to somebody and let them hold you. And and so much of a part of that is letting yourself feel, because a lot of times when we receive things from people, we're not actually receiving it, and we're not letting ourselves feel that. And so it's like, if somebody hugs you or somebody gives you a compliment, let yourself feel it. Like, that's a very basic, just small thing that is actually such a huge thing, because when you start letting yourself have that love, then you're giving that to yourself. Whoever, like, regardless of who is giving you the hug, you're letting yourself receive that. And I feel like most people are not actually in a receiving state. Like, I don't know if we've talked about it before, but there's a masculine and feminine energy, right? And a lot of, like, even women even are in a masculine energy a lot of the time. And we need that receiving energy. Like, men and women need to receive love in order to be able to be in balance. And I feel like that's a huge thing. So let yourself, like, even, it might not even seem like it makes sense, but notice if you're letting yourself feel or not. Are you letting yourself feel that love? Are you letting it in or not? That's a really big thing. And if you find that you're, say somebody gives you a hug and you feel like you tense up inside, notice that. Because as long as you just notice that, that's a start. That's a start. And then you can see somewhere deep inside, you're not letting yourself be held by somebody. You're not letting yourself be receiving that love. And that means the you inside is being like held hostage, essentially. It's like,
Well, yeah, that's beautiful. So first we want to feel, and then after that, basically be open to receive. And if I understand you correctly, also every small step, even if we feel like 10 cents inside when we feel that, like no judgment for that, just feeling it and knowing that that feeling and that awareness is actually something that could take us forward.
yeah,
Now,
exactly.
that's beautiful, and I want to make it a little bit more difficult for you because there are always people that will say, "Well, that's nice to say. You have someone to go to that you could, get that hug or have that feeling of connection."
Mm-hmm.
Someone that for some reason has no one to go and get that hug from them or that someone to listen to them. Is there anything that they could do to create that deeper connection with themselves?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, we, yes, okay, there, even, I'm thinking like maybe, there's always people that we know that you could just start talking to, but we don't. But, anyways, if you're completely on your own, let's say maybe me in quarantine. um,
You're in quarantine, you got COVID, you're feeling good, but thank God, but you're by yourself. I
yeah,
want you to give a tool to
so
someone that is by themselves right now. Don't have someone to go to.
yeah. So I actually, this I really believe started my whole awakening journey. What I did and what I really do suggest doing is um, letting yourself go to, like, if you've ever had a time in your life where you just felt overjoyed and you had, like, for me, I think about times with my brother where we laughed so hard until we cried, like just like stupid silly things, or just that feeling of feeling really really light and open, just and just that love, like, for me, I went there and I let myself kind of relive it and not only think about the time but feel it really deeply. And I just like felt so much gratitude towards that. And
Beautiful.
I started doing that like every night. I would just think about those times that lifted me up, and I would just feel a lot of gratitude for those times, and that opened so much up for me. So even when you're alone, you can notice, are you letting yourself feel that that joy and that love that you did experience, and like it really helped me. Yeah, it really helped me just to remember those times and to let myself feel what that felt like, and just, yeah, let it be my state of being in that moment.
Wow, that's it's really beautiful because first I like it because you don't like I don't like when we always depend on other people. So this is something that we all can do. Remember that time that we did enjoy in life and feel it. You said something so important, like feel it inside of us, maybe even visualize it and be grateful for it.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, being alone doesn't mean necessarily being alone. Might be people next to you, but you might feel alone. You might be in a
Yes.
relationship, but you feel that you're alone. Or you might be with other people around you wherever you are in life, but you feel alone. So it's not necessarily physically. So I really love the tools that also if you feel comfortable to share with someone else, so basically open up, feel, accept, receive.
Mm-hmm.
But also if not, each person, if they think enough, they could find a time in life that they felt, joyful, that they felt well. And, just closing your eyes or not, whatever you want, and feeling that again, not only thinking about that, because actually when you think about it, you might like ask yourself, why am I not there now? But
Exactly. Yeah.
when you feel it, I love what you said about feeling, when you feel it, and you're grateful for the opportunity, so you basically open more channels now for more opportunity to come, first to connect to yourself, and later on also to more connections to the outside world. So I really appreciate you sharing those tools. That's beautiful. Is there any other tool you want to share, like towards that now?
I think I just like, I keep saying the word feel, and there's so much in that word because I think a lot of times, we have lots of emotions, and And a lot of us are very intuitive too, and we're not sure what we're feeling. Are we feeling something that's, let's say, true, or are we picking up something, or are we just, having an experience as a reaction to something? I think that it's important to listen to your body, and just, and it doesn't even necessarily mean you have to figure out where all these feelings are, why they're there, or should you have them, or any of that. I think the most important thing is to just let go of the judgment. And you can watch the judgment, you can watch it, but it's, if you get really in tune with listening to yourself, then you can start seeing the judgment compared to the feeling, and know that they're actually, like, you don't have to listen to the thoughts about it. Just feel in acceptance. Acceptance is the biggest thing in, like, healing and in these spiritual journeys that we're having, our experiences. Every time we're not accepting something, we're in resistance. So being in acceptance to how you feel is kind of a key to be in flow and to keep going, because even though your judgment of that feeling isn't good, that doesn't mean that that feeling isn't you right now. So it's like, are you going to judge yourself because that feeling is you, or are you going to be in acceptance and be vulnerable in that feeling to let it be there? Because if you're not being vulnerable, then you're pretty much rejecting yourself when you're not letting yourself feel what you feel. So if you can let yourself be in the feeling regardless of what it is, and be in acceptance. So that's something that I practice, like, day to day. That's the main thing that I've learned through all of this. And because things in life are still going to be up and down sometimes, and it's all how you accept yourself in that experience that you can, stay loving yourself, or are you going to fight yourself?
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so important. I really appreciate you adding, these great pearls here, because not only that the feeling is there, like we said, like the love was there when we were born, the feelings are there, but maybe we didn't, we're not really aware to the fact that they're there, and we're missing them out. But when we feel them, like you said, and accept them because they're there, I think that's so important. With, of course, with no judgment. And then I'll just add in, I'm going back to what you said, that we could detach from them. A lot of times, feel that feeling, I believe, and then after that, sometimes it's better to detach, zoom out, and look at it from the outside. You're the person that is having the feeling, but you don't have to recognize with it. So you do have it, and like you said, sometimes detach and look at it. Just look from the outside. Be like a tourist.
Yeah.
Zoom out, look from outside, and accept it. Because like you said a second ago, when you don't accept, you're just creating more resistance. When you're creating more resistance, it will blow up eventually, and you'll pay the price. Yeah. So I really appreciate, all these pearls that you shared here, and I recommend myself and other people to practice it. And just now towards the end, if you could just tell people, if someone's going to watch this on YouTube later on, where can they find you?
Yeah, so you can, I have, my website is amyfournierconnectionhealing.com. And if you want to reach out to me, amyfournierconnectionhealing@gmail.com too. Yeah. And my
Perfect.
Instagram, Amy Lynn Fournier. Yeah, I'm here. And on YouTube, so.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, Amy, I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really enjoying our talks, and I really appreciate you inviting me to be able to speak about what I do and these things together. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
Oh, for sure. It's my honor. As you know, the purpose of the channel is to help people light their path. And I believe that the tools that you bring here for sure help them overcome their challenges and light their path. So I really appreciate that, and hopefully I'll see you sooner than later.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Have a great day there, or good morning, yeah, whatever it is. Bye bye.
Bye.